meaningful public participation that had been entered into. So that's the crux of the Bella Bill and why the DA is opposed to the Bella Bill. The Department of Education, of course, believes that this is the right step to go in. 8 out of 9 provinces have supported the bill. So tomorrow, the president has planned a signing ceremony for this bill. He's planned a signing ceremony. By now, the catering should be ordered. The DA says if that signing ceremony goes ahead, the government of national unity will be under threat. It is undoubtedly and clearly a big test for this government of national unity. But what do you make of it all? I'll take your calls, 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, on the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. I guess it's also important to mention that the DA knew that the Bella Bill was on the president's desk before it came into this government of national unity. They were hoping that they'd be able to change the president's mind. Last night, the president held a dinner with members of the multi-party executive to try and, ease tensions, to try and kumbaya. We don't know how far those efforts may have gone. All right, I'm back with your calls after this.
After cutting the Buccaneers' continental journey short last season, Botswana Giants, running Galaxy, want to make beating the black and white outfit a good habit. They meet again, but Sir Rivero's boys plan to take full control at Botswana National Stadium. This is the second preliminary round of the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Experience great vibes of African football. Running Galaxy FC versus Orlando Pirates FC. This Saturday, 14 September at 4 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Here's what real clients say about OUTsurance. Here's Fundi, 46 from Brackenfell.
They give me lesser amount for my car. 523 rand on my 2013 Hyundai iX35.
Monica, 39 from Three Rivers, pays just 1,515 rand a month for her 2018 BMW 320i.
Give OUTsurance a call. You can't lose.
SMS out to 30754 now. That's out to 30754. OUTsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Liverpool FC have collected maximum points in their opening 3 matches of the 2024-2025 season. They want more victories.
Look at the white shirts coming here. Salah! Salah scores at Old Trafford again.
Meanwhile, Forest want to dictate terms at Anfield.
High towards the back post. What with a free header? Yes! 1-0 Forest. Richwood scores.
This is the Premier League. Catch the spectacular clash between Liverpool FC and Nottingham Forest on Saturday, 14 September at 3:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
All right, you're listening to The Talking Point. It is the open line. David, you're in Pietermaritzburg. Good morning.
Morning, Cathy.
Yes.
Yes. Mine is focusing on the hypocrisy of the DA. The DA is challenging the deployment of Judge Hlophe or Dr. Hlophe, saying it's unethical for a person who has been impeached to be deployed in the Justice Committee. But guess what? In the Northwest, they've deployed MPL, a lady who's got some shenanigans. She's been struck off the role. So it tells you that the DA, when it comes to white people, it will always close ranks. The second one, Cathy, is the issue of the DA always making noise about people to be employed on merit. If you look at the Chief of Staff in Steenhuisen's office, Agriculture Ministry, the person is employed there. The question is, what merit does he meet? Because he's only a matriculate. You'll recall again, I don't know if, I don't care if one sounds like a broken record. You'll recall again in Tshwane, they did have a Chief of Staff who lied about the qualifications. So these things tell a lot about the conduct of the DA. So it says, when it comes to issues of integrity, ethics and morals, that doesn't apply in the DA when it comes to white people. So the rules and all these things that they are saying, for them it only applies to other racial groups, but not white people because of white supremacy. Thank you.
Okay, David, out in Pietermaritzburg, thanks for calling in. And of course, you heard the view that is expressed there. It's a conversation we ventilated a couple of days ago on the open line too. Crispin, you are also in KZN. You're in Durban. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. And I was responding to what you played at the beginning of the show. I was actually in an office with Paddy Carney of Diaconia, and the phone rang, and he said to me, Steve Biko is dead. And it had a huge impact on me at the time because I knew Steve Biko. And I think it's worth trying to capture the essential elements of what he stood for. And at times I might have disagreed with him on things, but he had an integrity and he had an absolute resolute opposition to the many different forms that racialism takes. For example, he would not tolerate the way in which current political leaders often play on race and play on racial divisions as a way of trying to get to a particular constituency. He would have been appalled by situations like VBS. That would have been anathema to him. The idea that people get into power and then use their positions to advance their personal financial interests. And at the time, of course, he took on people in the Bantustans and actually said that they had no right to call themselves black because black wasn't a matter of race. It was a matter of commitment. So he actually said, well, you can't claim the benefits of being a black person or the nobility of being a black person if you align yourself to those anti-black interests that ran the country. And I think often I see people wearing T-shirts with his image, and I think, did they read what he wrote? Or is it just some vague idea that is brought out to attack some other political grouping and defend your own? And that's not being, that's lacking integrity. I think people need to rethink those ideas. Thanks.
Crispin, how did you and Biko meet?
Oh, I was on the at the Howard College campus. I was in USS and on the SRC. He was on what was then called the UNNE, non-European, can you believe it, SRC, with people like Roger Strugman, Ben and Gubane. And he was the driving force in that grouping. And I organized a seminar at the Alan Taylor residence. And that was actually the first moment at which there was a split in the sense that he led out all of the black delegates, black in the broad sense, of course, term that still should be used, I think. But he didn't actually dissociate himself from white people. He was engaged in very, as long as he could, he and Rick Turner in particular were engaged in debates around these issues and had a strong influence on each other.
All right. Wow, what a story. Crispin, thanks for calling in and for sharing that. Yeah, Crispin is out in Durban. And, he does raise an important point when it comes to how Biko has been memorialized and how we choose to remember him, is that based on just the broad understanding of Black consciousness, or is it something that we intentionally seek out to understand? And I know that somebody like Mampela Rampela has, sort of very strong views about this, and the conversations that we have in South Africa around Black consciousness and what it means, and maybe what it even should mean for us today in 2024, 30 years after we have had a democratic government in this country. It's 9:30. Time for your latest news headlines.
Good morning. In the headlines, National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola has announced that 85,000 suspects have been arrested in the last month for various crimes ranging from murder to rape, kidnapping and extortion. Masemola was briefing the media earlier on the countrywide operations carried out by SAPS for the past month. The DA in Tshwane says recent remarks by Action SA's Tshwane chairperson regarding the removal of Silius Brink proves the party is using the review process to buy time to find an alternative party to work with. And the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says he'll take back to Washington discussions he and his British counterpart have had with Ukrainian officials about the use of long-range Western weapons for strikes inside Russia. I'll have details on these and other stories at 10.
Umkhonto kaShaka is fueled up to make their presence felt. However, 2016 champs Masandawana want to eliminate their neighbors from the continent's inter-club competition. This is the Southern African Derby, the second preliminary round of the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Experience great vibes of African football. Mbabane Swallows FC versus Mamelodi Sundowns FC this Saturday, 14 September at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Becoming Elizabeth is the fascinating story of the early life of England's most iconic queen. With no clear heir, the death of King Henry VIII sets into motion a dangerous scramble for power. Elizabeth's fascinating and factual journey to secure the crown is filled with scheming, betrayal, and illicit relationships that threaten to bring forth her demise. At a time in which every man or woman of the court is on the wheel of fortune, which may take them to a position of great power one moment, or the executioner's block the next. Channel your inner royalty with Becoming Elizabeth, Saturdays at 9:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Feel like you're paying too much for car insurance? Be like 43-year-old Anissa, who pays only 1,289 Rand per month to insure her silver 2019 Toyota Hilux Raider e-cab with Outsurance. Get a quote from Outsurance today. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754 now. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
SAFM values your views. Be an active citizen.
Good morning, Cathy. On Salga wanting municipal workers to get higher wages, well, the solution, in my view, is for the Reserve Bank to revise its inflation target of 4%. I'm of the view that inflation should be 2% or less, because the situation right now is that the Reserve Bank is tolerating high levels of inflation, which is going to cause workers to demand higher wages to keep up with the high cost of living. So it's a situation like a dog chasing after its tail, and you can't blame these workers for demanding higher wages to keep up with the high cost of living. Thanks, Lionel Woodbank.
Hi, good morning, Cathy. How are you, Mafuta? Yeah, Cathy. For me, I don't think the DA would ever think of moving away from the GNU because of the banner bill. Otherwise, Cathy, what I see is that it's a test for President Ramaphosa as to whether he will give in or what. But the stakes are so high, Cathy, for DA. Their mandate is very demanding from their constituency. So this bill, Cathy, not at all. It can never make the DA move away from the GNU because they are there to represent the capitalists and the status quo of the economy. So they cannot go away from the GNU, not at all, not at this moment, Cathy.
Good morning, Cathy. The DA threats mustn't be taken seriously. They are just making threats. They think that the ANC will budge. They can walk out. They are the ones who promised South Africans that they are going to rescue South Africa through the GNU. And they also made a promise that they won't give South Africa to the dogs. That is the MK and the EFF. So by them walking out, they'll be opening the door for these two parties that are just waiting on the corridors. So the laws will be on them. This is Pimen Nkrumah.
Good morning, Oscar. With regards to the Bella bill, I trust the president will make the good decision of signing this bill into effect. And, the threats that is coming from the DA's side should not really shake the president at all in any way, shape or form, because at the end of the day, we are all clear and we know that, John Steenhuisen loves his position as minister. He also doesn't want to compromise himself. Neither do any of the, of government officials who are part of the DA want to compromise their position in government. So nobody's leaving the GNU, and those threats are really meaningless at this point. The president will do a good thing and will do a good service for the nation if he just signs the bill into effect. Thank you very much. Daniel here in Bryanston.
All right. As you can hear there from those WhatsApp voice notes, so many of our listeners believe that, the DA's threats around the GNU, if this Bella bill is signed, is merely bluffing, and that the president must sign and call out their bluff. Well, is it really? Is it a risk worth taking? I don't know. Deborah in Cape Town, you also want to talk about the Bella bill. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, to yourself and your business.
Yes.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the Bella bill. I think maybe the first point I want to do is to correct you, Cathy, on Section 4 and Section 5 of the bill, the one that speaks about the language policy and the admissions policy. The bill is very clear that it does not take the powers of the SGB from the SGBs to the HOD, but what it seeks to do, it seeks to create a dispute mechanism for parents who believe that language policy or admissions policy of that particular school is being used to strategically deal with themselves. So that is the first point I wanted to correct. So the both admissions and language policy will remain with the SGBs, but parents now will have an opportunity to dispute or to appeal should they feel that they've been dealt with on that bill. So that's the first point I wanted to deal with. But the bill itself has got about 40 sections in it. And if you look at what the DA fights about, only fights about those two things, the language policy and the admissions policy. And they're saying they want that bill to go back to Parliament and those clauses to be refined. And I think it tells a story about who is it that the DA stands for and what is it that the DA stands for. I think it's very clear that they are very clear, they're not ambiguous on who do they represent. But the bill, in essence, is a very good bill. We're encouraging the president tomorrow to sign. He must not sign after 12. In fact, if possible, he must just sign very early in the morning. There must not be any catering. Very early in the morning before breakfast, he must just sign so that the bill is signed into law.
Yeah, Deborah, on the issue of the powers, when it comes to language and admissions policies, yes, of course, those still rest with the SGB, but it does give the HOD an incredible amount of leeway in terms of intervening where there are disputes, which doesn't currently exist.
No. So if you look at, yes, that is the dispute mechanism that is being introduced there. Because as things stand, currently, an SGB can just say, we're full. And your child, Cathy, or you stay within a kilometer, 500 meters away from the school, and you know for a fact that it's not full. And I bring my child tomorrow at that school, and my child is admitted. And there's nothing we can do. And we're saying that is unfair. That is incredible amount of power to the SGBs to decide who they admit in that particular school, depending on how they feel or depending on their moods from that particular day. And that we believe that is wrong. So we're saying the HOD then is a dispute mechanism, dispute resolution mechanism that they can then say, no, give us all the details. How old is this child? Which class were they going to? And then the HOD will then look at the evidence before him and then say, okay, fine, you were right to exclude this child, or you were wrong because on this particular day, after this one was excluded, you then admitted somebody else, which means that there might be some kind of an exclusion that would have happened. So anywhere else in the world, there's nowhere where there's no dispute. Even at your workplace, you know, you can approach the CCMA if your employer removes you from work. So, but currently, as things stand, there's no, in inverted commas, CCMA mechanism in this particular format, and we don't think that's right.
Look, I hear you completely, Debo, but I guess the point I was making is that is part of the reason why the DA is disputing it, because the SGBs no longer have the final say, and they believe that is a centralization of power to the provincial head of departments rather than the devolution amongst individual SGBs who are running schools. I think the points that you made are good enough, really good enough points, Deborah. Are you in the sector?
I was in the sector, yes.
Okay. I can hear you. You don't want me to ask you any more than what I...
No. I think the correction, Cathy, is that the SGBs will still have the final say. The dispute resolution mechanism comes in if a parent then disputes. So, but if no one disputes, the final say is still with the SGB.
Okay.
It's their position. So I don't want us to miss that part.
Okay, Deborah, out in Cape Town. Thanks for that contribution, Deborah. Lukman, you're in Cape Town. Good morning, Lukman.
Good morning, Cathy.
Yes.
Cathy, and the previous caller alluded to it, is that the DA don't reject the ball entirely. There's a couple of things that they want requested to change, and that was what the spokesperson the other day said on SAFM. But Cathy, I'm asking myself here, is this ball mainly about getting black kids into white schools? You know, Cathy,
no.
This is becoming a political football for me. And there might be arguments against what I said now. But for me, Cathy, the main thing is here, our schools are falling apart, our public schools. The violence in our schools is out of hand. The teenage pregnancy is out of hand. Our infrastructure is falling apart. We have so much shortage of teachers in our public schools, Cathy. When is our schools going to become centers of excellence? Our public schools. Why must we all go to those Model C schools? Why must we all be driven to that? Why can't our schools become centers of excellence? Why is it not focused on it? Why is it that this intense focus on the valuable for? And I agree most of it. I agree with it. Great arts and all the kind of things. But Cathy, our schools are in dire need of an entire reform, Cathy. That is my thing. That is my concern.
And you don't think that the Bella Bill will bring the right kind of reform? Because the point that you've made is that it's not only around these 3 or 4 contentious issues that the DA has raised. There's a lot more to it, and in fact, if I look closely the education minister Sivuyo Gwagube has said that some of the proposed amendments in the Bella Bill will be good from a governance point of view for the schooling sector.
No, Cathy, like I said, I fully agree with the bill. There's some nice legislation in there. There's some nice points and it will add great value to the system, Cathy. But it still doesn't address the underlying crisis of our public schools, Cathy. It still not address that. And I want my views and my longing is that I want the same focus, the same emphasis that it is on this Bella Bill. It must be on those things I've mentioned in our public schools in terms of infrastructure, teenage pregnancies, violence in our schools, teachers being beaten, shortage of teachers. Those things I want the same attention as to this Bella Bill. Okay?
Yeah, it's a fair enough point, Lukman. Thanks for calling in and raising that issue. And I do think that the issue of funding is not one to be overlooked. The implementation of this bill, the money for that, is going to have to come from somewhere. And, in my review of just some of the sessions that the Department of Education had in terms of briefing Parliament on the funding aspects of that bill, there's still a very big question mark there. So how then is it going to be effectively implemented? And remember, this is in the midst of all of the other challenges that the education sector is facing. Zwela Keyo, Art and Bloom, good morning.
Morning, Cathy.
Yes, sir.
Not sure where to start about this issue, but what I can tell you is that the city of Mangaung has become a disastrous city that lacks no shame to publicly harass and humiliate children, women and children. Because on Monday, I'm sure you've witnessed with all South Africans that the city endorsed on what they call the regularization and the verification of tenants at one of its social housing units in Brazil. And that came with the biggest shame under the executive leadership of the executive mayor, Matatiele, and the administrative leadership of Selomore. Because you would
sorry, before you go on, what happened? I'm not aware of the story. What happened?
The city took the verification process that they're saying that there are verifying tenants at Brandbach social housing units. They took it themselves, immigration, police, they took it themselves, SAPS, they were doing some raids, they were evicting those that they believe that they don't meet a threshold, and there was quite a lot of commotion that ended up with residents or tenants having confrontation with city officials and grenades were thrown all over. As we're speaking, there are injured individuals, there are people who are still traumatized as speaking today. It's really sad situation that happened, and that was unwarranted, given the nature of the developments around that place alone.
What are they saying has happened with the housing project? Is it one of those that has been hijacked by people that weren't the rightful occupants, or what problem were they trying to solve for?
The unfortunate part is that these are not hijacked buildings. Unfortunately, again, there are individuals who are there unlawfully, given that these social housing units are earmarked for certain individuals who are aiming to up to a certain threshold. But with the management of this contract between the housing agent that has entered into agreement with the city, not being able to kind of execute its duties because it has been placed under administration, and the city now going there, breaching the very same agreement that they have signed and doing all these kind of things. That's what the commotion is all about. Because since 2019, residents or tenants at that social housing unit wanted to pay rent. They went to municipality on numerous occasions. They've tried to see to it that they get the place improved. But the city, because it was its hands were tied within this contract that expires in 2033, the city had nothing to do except to go to court and get a court order that nullifies the agreement that they have with their housing agent, Freshco, which is under administration. from the Social Housing Regulatory Authority, which since it has placed this housing agent under administration, there were no development. And unfortunately, when that housing agents were there, the buildings were managed very well. The developments were happening. Everything was happening fine because of the politics that came with Free State, and Free State has always been on top of everything that is bad. Then they decided to place the place under administration in conjunction with the National Human Settlement, that entity. So that on itself created all these things. But what I can tell you that the city had no right or authority to go there and make those verifications, because there are still held tight within an agreement that says Fresco is the one responsible, and in this instance, Shishra is the one responsible of having one-on-one interactions with tenants.
Sure. So, so it sounds like you have a situation where the administration around this particular building has just been bad. It's been badly run, and of course, that has had its own set of consequences.
Correct. But you would expect the executive mayor and the city manager to know better that instances of this nature, where you see that you've entered into a contract, and then it's as an administrative decision, and it is not yielding any positive result for the city, no residents or tenants at the social housing unit. They should have approached the court, got an order that says nullify the agreement that we are entered into, and now take the order to the residents to say this: we are now going to administer this project ourselves, or we are going to assign a new agent. We are going to do the following. That was never there. And what is said that people were evicted, people were traumatized by a whole executive mayor and the city manager present. And what's worse, what they are crying foul about is not the well-being of the people or the administration of the social housing unit itself. It's the fact that they are saying that they are not collecting the maximum rental fee that they were supposed to collect. But if you go to the contract or the agreement, the lease agreement they signed with Fresco, they were supposed to get 1,500 rand rental fee in year one. That would cumulatively grow 5%, increase by 5% per annum.
Okay.
We are in year 14. At worst that they needed to collect there is 2,969 rand 90 in the form of rental. But I'm saying they're collecting 2.6%. And that 2.6% would then show you that they're collecting over the 2,900. So you would eventually ask yourself, why would you lack the audacity to respectfully engage with human beings in a manner that you want them also to get the entire process, instead of going there and harassing them with police.
Zwelakhe, thank you for calling in and raising this issue. I certainly have not been aware of what's been happening there. It's one of those that I guess we're going to have to try and take a closer look at and try to understand what the issues there are. But of course, if there were these nasty confrontations as you've described, and people being injured and some of them having to recover from those injuries, it absolutely is something that is of concern. But as things stand, not much I can say about it because we certainly were not aware of that issue. Let's take a quick break. I'm back with more of your calls.
We've upgraded. Our new GIS-linked national address database lets us connect with you better than ever before. By visualizing licensed and unlicensed households nationwide, we can ensure timely communication. Our payment reminders are a crucial tool to help you stay compliant and avoid penalties, empowering you to take proactive steps. Efficient electronic communication helps us collect fees seamlessly, bolstering the SABC's mandate in line with Section 27 of the Broadcasting Act. TV licenses. Pay yours. Make a difference.
EFC is live this Thursday. The bantamweight title is on the line, live from the World Sports Betting Arena, as the top-ranked divisional contenders and perennial fan favorites Faiz Jacobs and Vince Bembe go to war.
Oh, big right from Faiz Jacobs. The finish is over. What a win. When he smells blood, he hunts mercilessly for the finish.
EFC is live this Thursday. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're still listening to the open line on the Talking Point from Worcester. Sitwa, good morning. Good morning, Sitwa.
Oh, Sis Cathy.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Diabolela, to you and the listeners for taking my call, Sis Cathy. I see your call this morning is dominated by the Bella bill, while we here in Western Cape, our tails are between our legs here about the retrenchment of educators, Sis Cathy. My friends here and my neighbors, they received already letters informing them that the Western Cape is planning to retrench 2,400. And I understand KwaZulu-Natal, I don't know other provinces, KwaZulu-Natal, they are planning to retrench almost 10,000 educators. Now, as I'm sitting now here, 10,000 to 2,400, almost 12,000 educators who's going to lose their job to join the queue of the unemployment. Now, I want to know, Sister, I don't know from you guys as a media, that I understand the reason is because of the National Treasury budget cut off. Seems to me it was last year when Ugodongwan announced that he's going to decrease the budget. But now these letters are not clear, Sister, that there are no other methods to reduce that 10% than to retrench educators. Why they don't go to them like ministers just to cut them, maybe their benefits there, these blue lights and securities and these nice suits and other things, than really to retrench and let people lose. As you can see, Cathy, one teacher in us blacks is representing almost 10 members of the family. So which means if you divide, if you multiply that 2,400, which means almost 6,000 families will be sitting without bread on the table. And this thing is worrying me. But I say now, all of us focus on the president tomorrow to sign a Bella bill, and the others wanted to withdraw to GNU if this bill is implemented. But I want to know here in Western Cape, how do they come to this one of retrenching than to look to other methods of really reducing this thing of budget? Or are you?
Yeah, you know, the issue about the budget cuts, of course, you're right. You know, they have to do just with general constraints when it comes to the budget. The debate on whether or not, you know, government has to be having these constraints, and how it is budgeting, that's a separate conversation, I believe. But this is a problem that is affecting all provinces, not just the Western Cape.
Yeah, but what other provinces are they going to? How they are going to? Because it's only us, Western Cape, and in KwaZulu-Natal. So, which means other provinces, they do have another avenues or another areas that they are going to really done to retrench. Why us here in Western Cape just jump to let the people lose their job? Go. So what about other provinces? How they are going to deal with this thing of the budget constraints?
Look,
there's no other avenue.
Yeah. What I did say earlier on in the week is that we've reached out to the education minister. We're hoping that sometime in the next week, her schedule was packed for this week. We're hoping that sometime next week she'll be able to come on and also provide a bit of clarity in terms of what is happening with this issue around the budget cuts and how the individual provinces are responding to it. So I think she'd be in a better position to answer your questions. All right, we'll leave it there. Let me go to Lisiba Khobokwane. Good morning, Lisiba.
Good morning, Sis Cathy, and good morning to your producers, and thanks for taking my call. You see, Sis Cathy, my issue today is about the bill that has to be signed tomorrow up by our president. But before that, I would like to remind you that, remember, you made a commitment to us with Mohlahlana executive mayor that they will give the breakdown of the money that the municipality is spending on pursuing all the legal issues that are before court. We haven't got the report from the executive mayor. I hope in time we'll be able to report back to us.
All right, Lisiba.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
no problem.
And my point today, I can assure you and I can show to South Africa that the president is going to sign the bill. The president is going to sign the bill into law because this is a fundamental reason why the ANC was formed, why the black people were involved in the struggle against apartheid. It was precisely to make sure that these laws that were undermining our own people, we get rid of them, we get rid of the government, we put the government that will be able to implement the policies that are just and fair to the people of South Africa irrespective of their color. But if DA says, Kate, feel that it's a betrayal of government of national unity by making sure that the majority of the people benefit, then we rather part ways, because there is no way we are going to go to conference, adopt the resolution that informed by the Freedom Charter and the National Democratic Revolution, not going to implement them. We rather remain outside the government, go back as a liberation movement to ensure that we get absolute power that is going to make us possible to implement our policies. Lastly, the DA is betraying the black people that voted for DA, because what they say when they were campaigning, they were talking about corruption, which is a main problem to all of us. They were talking about creating jobs and so on. But there is one thing they did not explain to the black voters out there, that part of the thing we are going to defend apartheid policies. And the people, because they hate corruption, they did not even think the other side. They follow the trend of the DA and voted them into power, undermined their own struggle under the African National Congress.
Yeah, Lisiba,
Yes.
I don't think that the DA has anyway said that it's defending apartheid policies. I don't think that that's an accurate reflection of what is happening right now. Unfortunately, we're out of time. It's just after 10. Time for your news.
In our top stories, National Police Commissioner's update on countrywide policing operations and 3 people killed in Nyanga barbershop shooting. Good morning. National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemola has announced that 85,000 suspects have been arrested for various crimes across the country in the last month. Masemola was speaking during a media briefing at a roadblock in Houghton in Johannesburg earlier, where he gave an update on SAPS countrywide operations. He was joined by the national head of the Hawks, Lieutenant General Godfrey Libya, who also provided feedback on the DPCI successes in the past month. Masemola says Operation Shanela will continue to crack down on criminals.
With regard to Operation Shanela, we have arrested more than, we have now passed the mark over 850,000 operations, and the operation is still continuing, and there is a number of suspects that we have arrested for various offences. We have confiscated 824 illegal firearms since the start of the operation, and over 17,000 rounds of ammunition of various calibers.
The DA in Tshwane says recent remarks by Action SA's Tshwane chairperson regarding the removal of Cilliers Brink proves the party is using the review process to buy time to find an alternative party to work with. The party accuses Jack Matabate of posting a social media message predicting the DA's golden boy would be ousted in 16 days. DA Tshwane caucus spokesperson Kwena Moloto says this proves the review process outcome has been predetermined.
We've got internal mechanisms inside the coalition where political parties that form part of the coalition can raise concerns. Action SA hasn't used any of those mechanisms in the run-up to this process. They keep on saying they are just reviewing the coalition after the election, which would be fine if that was genuinely their intention, but it's clear that they're not. They've gone on a social media attack, literally on a daily basis, are going around the city of China and posting service delivery failures and saying that the DA doesn't care about townships. They're acting as if they haven't formed part of this government for 3 years.
Muloto says Action SA is gunning for the mayoral position for personal interest and not for the interest of the people of Tshwane. He says comments by Action SA's caucus leader that they want to remove white monopoly capital proves they are willing to work with only one party, which he says is the EFF.
They've gone on the smear campaign of a government they formed part of for 3 years, and it's very unfortunate because, just a month and a half ago, the same caucus leader that's now saying that he wants to remove white monopoly capital was releasing statements talking about all the great work that we're doing in the city of Tshwane together, and it's what we believe. For us, this doesn't seem to have anything to do with service delivery. It has nothing to do with the residents and everything to do with Action SA attempting to take the mayorship for personal gain.
3 men aged between 18 and 21 years old were shot and killed and 5 others wounded in a barber shop in Brown's Farm in Nyanga on the Cape Flats. Police spokesperson Andre Trout says the incident happened yesterday. He says police have initiated a manhunt for 4 armed suspects allegedly responsible for the massacre.
With regard to Operation Chanela, we have arrested more than
Further afield, and finally, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says he'll take back to Washington discussions he and his British counterpart have had with Ukrainian officials about the use of long-range Western weapons for strikes inside Russia. The BBC's James Landell has more.
The head of President Zelensky's presidential office said, "We believe our arguments were heard." Those arguments are very simply that if Ukraine is to survive the winter, it needs permission to use long-range missiles against Russian targets. Now, thus far, the Americans have resisted this, fearing Russian aggression. But there are signs that thinking is evolving. Today, David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, told me that Russia's use of Iranian-made missiles was changing the debate completely. And Antony Blinken said that American policy had to adapt and adjust.
Recapping the top story, the National Police Commissioner General Cathy Mohlahlana has announced that 85,000 suspects have been arrested for various crimes across the country in the last month. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Dawn breaks across the lush Serengeti plain. But paradise is fleeting as the animals face fresh challenges. Kali the lioness and Bakari the baboon may seem safe in their rock fortresses, but with rivals encroaching on all sides, their future hangs in the balance. Out on the plains, Duma the cheetah faces his destiny. And down by the river, baby hippo Mafuta strikes up an unlikely friendship with the crocodile Magamba. Channel your inner explorer with Serengeti, Season 3, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Umkhonto kaShaka is fueled up to make their presence felt. However, 2016 champs Masandawana want to eliminate their neighbors from the continent's inter-club competition. This is the Southern African Derby, the second preliminary round of the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Experience great vibes of African football. Mbabane Swallows FC versus Mamelodi Sundowns FC. This Saturday, 14 September at 7:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
From 1936 to the future. From Ekaya, Ekas, to Jozi and Welcome to the world. From dance and poetry to stages filled with our hopes and dreams. From SABC radio stations to cross-border triumphs. From drama, comedy and heart-pounding sport to raise our flag. From culture and spirit to the streets where talent is grown. From generation to generations and the shows that kept us entertained. So what are you waiting for? Kumbule Kaya. SABC has always been home to our joy, stories and Msanti's magic. Come home to SABC Plus, still home to the best of who we are.
The varsity derby between Amatax ladies and UWC ladies will display who are the brighter students. UWC target the top spot while Amatax want to break into the top 3. This is the Hollywood Best Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus University of the Western Cape Ladies FC on Sunday, 15 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 1. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
You're listening to The Talking Point. Welcome to the second hour of the show, 9 after 10 o'clock. And of course, in this hour, we're going to be getting into our Municipal Watch feature. We're going back to the Matatiele local municipality. The last time we looked at this municipality was on the 19th of May 2023. There, of course, were a number of issues that led us to focus on Matatiele at the time. Among them were the damage to infrastructure as a result of flooding that hit that part of the country. But what had not been done in as far as attempting to repair the infrastructure, it resulted in very young children having to cross rivers to make their way to schools. And today we'll get a comprehensive update of what's been happening in that municipality. I see some of you have already started to send through your questions. Poka in Matatiele, Poka, you're very committed. You've already put up six questions that you would want them to answer. So yeah, we'll get into that conversation shortly. Before we do, some of your WhatsApp voice notes from the open line.
Morning, Sisiketi. 2024 elections put ANC in the ICU, where DA is monitoring that machine, that support machine. So tomorrow, if the president signs that bill, DA will switch off that support machine in the ICU. ANC will be vulnerable. If EFF does not come into the picture, ANC will be very, 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 very vulnerable, walking in the street naked. Lisa from Brixton.
Good morning, House Katie. We are speaking to Spesihle in Danhausa, KwaZulu-Natal. The president must sign the Bella bill tomorrow. If the DA wants to leave the GNU, it's okay. As an ANC member myself, it would be painful for me to see the DA going out of this GNU, because we are starting to see some way forward under this 7th administration. If they feel that they want to leave, they must leave. There's nothing we will do. We are forced to work with EFF and MK. It is what it is. Thank you.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Well, on the 1st of August, we featured the Amaqunugwebo community for a follow-up conversation. They wrote to the show complaining about a lack of roads, difficulties with infrastructure, including sending pictures of school children who in that area are also having to cross rivers when they go to school because there are no bridges. The mayor of the Raymond Mhlaba municipality, Councillor Nomhle Sango, was on air and promised on air that their roads would be fixed by the end of August. So, where are we today? What's the date today? Today is the 12th of September. Listen to her making that commitment.
in Ward 1, there is a regraveling of the roads in Kwakulile, which is now on the stage of doing inside handover to the contractor.
Yes. So when will it be done? What is the completion date of the project?
The completion date.
Yes.
I cannot say now when will be the completion date.
But you're already handing over.
We are going
What's
to
the plan?
do the site handover next week, Cathy.
Yes, but by the time that you do a site handover, it means that there is a plan. You've already worked on timelines. For we hand over the site on this date, this is how long we're giving you to do the job. This is when we expect you to be done.
Yes, we expected it to be already done by the end of August, Cathy.
So the residents of Ward 1 will have the roads that they have been complaining about attended to by the end of August. That is your commitment.
Yes.
That was the promise. Well, has it been kept? Nomfundo Mpuncha is one of the residents there who raised the complaint with us. We reached out to her to find out what has happened since that interview.
We haven't heard anything from the mayor's office since our last interview on the 1st of August. The roads are still in the same condition and worse than last time. However, we tried to host her. We wanted, as residents of Ward 1, we invited her for a meeting because we were still debating. And we are really, under pressure with lack of service delivery. So her office just created a parallel meeting on the same day in another, at Kulile in another village. So there was that parallel meeting, which eventually she didn't attend, which was the 21st. And then the residents decided to take the matter up with the provincial office of the ANC, as we want by-elections now, and we really want them to help us, since we have not been budgeted for 2 years. The roads, the water, those are the main issues. There's no water in our villages. So, yeah, she didn't, nothing has been done. The roads are still worse than last time. Thank you. Goodbye.
Councillor Nomhle Sango, the mayor of the Raymond Mhlaba municipality, well, you actually should be ashamed of yourself. The audacity to come on air and make promises to residents who have long been asking for support, residents who have been digging into their own pockets to fix their own roads. And you come on air and you make that kind of commitment. Meanwhile, when the conversation is done, you don't even bother to reach out to that community as you had committed to. It is disgraceful and certainly not the way that people who hold high public office like yourself should be conducting themselves. Well, let's get then into Matatiele. And what is happening in Matatiele. We, of course, have reflected on what happened last year in as far as the service delivery challenges that the municipality has been facing. There were issues around, in particular at the time, a bridge that had been swept away in the floods, and this bridge was essential. Especially when it came to young people who needed to make their way to schools. They came onto the show and promised to fix that bridge and other infrastructure. They also promised to come back to the show to give feedback on what has happened since. Instead, what we have had is confirmations and postponements from the Matatiele local municipality. They will confirm they're coming on and then will postpone at the 11th hour. On the 26th of August, their communications team was here at SAFM offices to speak to SAFM about how they wanted to address some of the issues that the Matatiele residents had raised on the show. Since then, remember, they drove all the way from Matatiele to come to our offices to speak to us about how they were committed to addressing issues in the community. For the last month, they've been committing to come onto the show every week. And every week they pull out for whatever reason. So clearly, they don't find it important to give residents feedback. So this morning, we're going to follow up on what is happening in Matatiele. Wonga Potwana is the DA councillor at that local municipality. Wonga, good morning.
Good morning.
Stembile Madikizela is the EFF provincial chairperson and member of the legislature. Stembile, good morning. All right, Stembile is going to be joining us in a short while. Lehagwe Mapela is a resident of Matatiele. Lehagwe, good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And
hello, Cathy.
Yes, I can hear you, Lehagwe. And
hello,
so,
Cathy.
Yes.
Yes, it's Mapela. It's Lahagwe, Cathy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Stay on the line for us. We can hear you loud and clear. And certainly, we reached out to the mayor's office, to the spokespeople's office. They're now no longer taking our calls. The mayor no longer responding to our calls. We went to the ANC in the province. They then tried to get the mayor to come on. As things stand, we still don't have the mayor, but let's see what happens between now and 11 o'clock. So before we get into the conversation, Wonga, I just want to perhaps look back and recap around some of the commitments that were made the last time we had this conversation.
I think let me start by saying, Cathy, the bridge is not washed away. The bridge is still there, but it's just the connection between the earthworks, the soil, and the connection of the road. So what we are actually doing now, we're actually dumping, trying to fix where there was probably a washed away place around the bridge. So we're actually considering that as we speak now.
When are you expecting to be done with it?
Probably in 2 weeks we'll be done with it.
And then,
people
and then,
already started to use it.
And then the other bridges, the 15 other bridges that you would still need to fix.
Yeah, we're still busy with that with those bridges. I might not really stay. When are we going to?
What did you discuss at your strategic planning about when the construction of those bridges needed to be done?
By the time we went for strategic planning, some of the bridges were not on disaster. As I said,
no, that's not true, because they said the floods took place last year.
The floods that we're talking about, there were floods last year. There are floods, as Municipal manager indicated. There are still floods even now that are, taking place. When it's raining in Matatiele, we always experience, floods. So each and every time they will be always, that the area in Matatiele
So how many bridges did you discuss at your strategic planning?
We actually discussed all the bridges of Matatiele because we are aware of all the bridges might be in a disaster.
So that there was the voice of Councillor Sonwabile Mgenela, the mayor of Matatiele Municipality, committing that the bridge in question that was compromising the lives of young children would be completed in 2 weeks. Wonga, you are the one that brought that video to us here on Municipal Watch. What has happened since? Has it, if nothing else, if none of the other 15 bridges have been fixed, has that one bridge, was it fixed within that 2-week period that the mayor committed to?
Good morning to you, Cathy. Good morning to you, SAFM listeners. No, the bridge has not been fixed. The other one that are fixed are a different ball game to what we are talking about.
what they did, if you remember, the temporary mitigation that was done by the municipality is still the same temporary mitigation that is there. If an example can be, the rain can fall to the maximum percentage that the soil can be eroded, again the same bridge will be the same old story. So all in all, the bridge has not been done.
What is the current state of the Matatiele municipality in as far as service delivery is concerned?
You know, when you check the current state on books versus how the budget was done versus how the IDP was done, you will say everything is nice and easy. But when you actually go physically on what has to be taken place on the ground, then that's where you see the problem. That's where you see that whatever that is on black and white in terms of the paperwork is not what the people of Matatiele are getting.
Lehakwe, you are a resident, of course, of Matatiele. Speak to us about your experience.
Hey, Cathy, my experience is horrible. Starting with the water. For example, Ward 1 in Maluti here, as we speak, there is no water, Cathy. We are going to start having a crisis of maybe water trucks, mafias, maybe very soon, because the water is provided by the water tankers. That you don't know when they come, because most of the time when they come, you are at work. I have a site there I'm developing there. We don't have water to even work with. In Ward 27, where I'm currently staying, we are using boreholes. Those boreholes, they work using, they are powered by a generator that uses diesel. You'll sometimes be told that there is no diesel. This diesel will come in 25 liters. That a service provider will have to go and buy that diesel. You'll wait for weeks. You'll be told that there is no diesel, there is no service provider. But we have petrol stations here. We don't know why the operator can't just take that 125 liter and go buy diesel for himself. Why are we waiting for a service provider to buy diesel? We don't know. But I usually communicate with my ward councillor. He will always try to explain. There is also people are boring boreholes, drilling boreholes everywhere now, because the municipality is unable to provide sustainable water provision. There is no water provision here in almost Ward 27, Ward 1. There is no sustainable water. When it comes to roads, roads are horrible. There was a strike last week of transport people, the taxi operators. In fact, it's vans here in Ward 27 who blocked the road because the roads are bad, and the municipality will always wait for a strike and then respond. Even now, I think they've responded by parking. I've seen up there, they have parked a truck and a grater, a water truck. Maybe there are 3 machinery and machines that are parked there, just to say we are going to attend to you. But they always do this. You'll hear of serious amounts that are going to be spent in re-graveling the road. But we don't know why they don't come up with a more permanent solution or a more lasting solution to say we are going to start by maybe surfacing a portion of this road, and then with the next budget we are going to resurface. But this thing of re-graveling, after every 2 to 3 months, they have to re-gravel, because the road from Ward 1 here to Ward 27, it's a very busy road, Katie. It leads to Lesotho, this road. It's very busy. We always have to strike for it to be maintained. And Matatiele, Katie, it's about to turn into a mafia or a gangster town. People are shot here in town in Matatiele, daylight. We have a number of cases, others are still active now, where people will be shot amongst the people. Daylight, I once witnessed that, where I saw first time seeing a bullet having went straight into a forehead of a person lying on the ground. It's a regular occurrence that it's not safe in Matatiele. It's no longer sweet, Katie. It's horrible here. These people are failing to manage and service people of this town.
What do you think is driving the crime levels, Lehakwe? Why are you suddenly getting shootings in town in the middle of the day?
In the middle of the day, my sister, it's something that is very shocking. I don't know. We are told that there are drug issues. I think there are people who are dealing in drugs. They fight. And sometimes you don't know, because every time when someone is shot, you'll always hear a rumor that it was drug-related. It was drug-related. But you won't know, kid. There is no law, really. We are not safe. We don't know what is the cause, but the rumor says it's because of the drugs. Because if you go to town right now, you'll find that there are people behind the shops there in town.
Okay.
So there's drug selling and corruption, and we are led by criminals, Katie, because if you are unable to service people and you are not doing what you're supposed to do, you are a criminal, because you are aiding these social ills in the form of drugs and killings and non-service delivery.
All right.
So,
Lehakwe,
yes.
I'm going to ask you to pause there. Lehakwe Mapela is a resident of Matatiele. So, coming on to the show then after the 10:30 news headlines, we're going to have Athol Trollip. He's the Action SA parliamentary leader. He's recently written a letter to the Cocta Minister for intervention in the Matatiele local municipality. It also seems we've been able to track down the mayor, Councillor Sonwabile Mgenela. He'll be joining us too after the latest news headlines.
Thank you very much, Cathy, and a very good morning to you. With the news headlines, Kimudupima Khalemele. The Socio-Economic Rights Institute, SERI, which represents Marikana widows and families, says the Northwest High Court's decision to acquit 6 police officers is an injustice to the families of the deceased. National Police Commissioner Cathy Mohlahlana has announced that 85,000 suspects have been arrested for various crimes across the country in the last month. And the head of Venezuela's National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, has proposed breaking off diplomatic and economic relations with Spain, which has granted political asylum to the opposition presidential candidate Edmundo Gonzalez. And those are your headlines. A full news update at 11.
Taking a look at your markets this morning, the rand currently trading at 17 rand at 95 to the dollar, 23 rand 40 to the pound, and 19 rand 76 to the euro. Markets in Asia were mainly higher at the closing bell. The JC has extended gains in mid-morning trade. Markets in Europe are also higher this hour. Gold is trading at $2,517, platinum $956 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $71.59 a barrel.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's another elimination week, and the bottom 6 are taken on a culinary trip back to school. For this challenge, they must create their dream lunchbox filled with nutritious yet delicious treats, and their creations are impressive. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
The wait is finally over, and we can safely say that Tropica Island of Treasure is back to serve you some really great entertainment. Tune into S3 from the 28th of September to cheer on the 7 teams who will be vying to win a shared prize of 1 million rand, a brand new car each, and become the champions of Tropica Island of Treasure Season 11. Fancy 50,000 bucks? Predict the champions of Tropica Island of Treasure, and you might be sipping that cold, refreshing Tropica all the way to the bank. Follow at MyTropica and at SABC3 for more information. Channel your inner champion with Tropica Island of Treasure. Starts Saturday the 28th of September at 6:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3. when self-made billionaire Wilton Knight rescues police detective Lieutenant Michael Long after a near-fatal shot to the face. He gives him a new identity and a new name, Michael Knight. Paired with the unique Knight Industries 2000 aka Kit, they are brought in during situations where direct action might provide the only feasible solution. Kusazo Shuba and Michael Knight and Kit are ready to rise to the occasion. Channel your best retro with Knight Rider, weekdays at 12 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
EFC is live this Thursday. The bantamweight title is on the line, live from the World Sports Betting Arena, as the top-ranked divisional contenders and perennial fan favorites Faiz Jacobs and Vince Bembe go to war.
Oh, big right from Faiz Jacobs. The finish, and it's over. What a win. When he smells blood, he hunts mercilessly for the finish.
EFC is live this Thursday. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
Municipal Watch, bringing your local issues on the national agenda. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
We continue our focus on the Matatiele local municipality. We've already heard from Wonga Potwana and Lehagwe, who's the DA councillor in that municipality. Lehagwe Mapela, resident also of Matatiele. Let me bring in Athol Trollope, who's the Action SA parliamentary leader. Athol, good morning to you. Thanks for your time this morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Thank you for your time, and good morning to your listeners.
Councillor Sonwabile Mgenela is the mayor of Matatiele. Councillor Sonwabile, good morning to you.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to the listeners.
Yes, thank you for coming back.
Thank you so much, Cathy. I'm here.
Athol, let's talk about then the request for intervention, the letter that you've written to the Cocta Minister, Velungosini Hlabisa. You describe what is really a municipality that is a hotbed of organized corruption plagued by service delivery failures. It's a very strong statement to make. What informs it?
Well, Cathy, I was just listening with interest to one of your guests describing what it's like living in Matatiele. And I'm a public representative, a member of parliament, and there are various issues that trigger a request for an investigation. And in this particular case, there was some very alarming footage that I saw of the mayor arriving at work one day accompanied by a whole host of gun-toting bodyguards that were not his official municipal bodyguards. And they caused a lot of trauma in the municipality, and I followed the article with interest, and I received a number of telephone calls and even written messages about irregularities around the tender for security provision in the municipality. Now, when the mayor arrived at work, accompanied by people walking around with automatic or semi-automatic firearms, it is an incident that triggers public interest. So on the strength of that, I wrote to the minister to say to the minister that this is unacceptable behavior, and it has the hallmarks of so many issues that can be of concern in public service. Now, first question you would ask, why would the mayor have to be accompanied by his own phalanx of bodyguards? And secondly, even the tender has been taken to court by the losing service provider. And there were a number of other companies that obviously applied for this tender to provide security. The tender in 3 years went from 43 million rand to 68 million rand. But the new company that was awarded the tender, strangely enough, if you look at the tender documents, which have subsequently been provided to me by members of the public who saw that I've written a letter to the minister, there were a number of companies that were overlooked for the tender because they hadn't supplied financial statements. But the company that was given the tender, that the mayor obviously supported, also hadn't supplied their financial statements, yet they were given the tender. And this is now a matter before court. So I was very impressed that when I wrote to the minister, he wrote back immediately to say he's referred this incident to the MEC in the Eastern Cape, Zolile Williams, and according to Section 1064A of the Local Government Municipal Systems Act, the MEC has to write back within 30 days with a full report. But Cathy, it doesn't stop there. Since I've written this letter and put out a public statement about it, I've had numerous people contacting me from Matatiele municipality about irregular HR practices, people that have been on suspension, having their suspension lifted without any disciplinary processes. The CFO's qualifications have been brought into question. There are a number of people who've been appointed through irregular, HR and appointment practices that all collaborate with the mayor. And the municipal manager himself has been implicated in collaboration with the mayor doing things that are ultra vires in that municipality. So I'm delighted that there's going to be an investigation, and I look forward to the 90-day deadline arriving. But I also want to say that Matatiele is part of the Alfred Nzor District Municipality. And in the Alfred Nzor District Municipality, there are even more concerns about that mayor, who apparently is doing business with his own municipality under the guise of various other companies. So it appears that in Alfred Nzor and Matatiele local municipality that the mayors are a law to themselves, and that they run these institutions as if they were their own private institutions, and that is a matter of grave concern in public office. Public office is there to serve the public, not yourself.
Ethel, thank you for that roundup of issues that have then triggered your letter to Coxter. Councillor Mgenela, you heard the full spectrum of what not only the dear councillor, one of the residents had to say, but also what Ethel has had to say. Your responses, and maybe if you can begin by the commitment that you had made on the show last year on the 19th of May. Why have you not lived up to that commitment? Why did you not do what you committed to doing in terms of fixing the bridges in Matatiele?
Thank you very much, Cathy. Let's appreciate the time. I think let me start by saying, if you remember when we were on live on the air last year, we said we're going to come close to make sure that all the bridges that were damaged by the disaster in Dlenyana, we're going to come close to that. And by that time, we were on the line. We were busy with the Situeni access road. We might not be having all the, money to fix all the needs of the community. But whatever that we are supposed to do by the legal that we are having, we always make sure. We've made an intervention on the bridge that we are talking about. We actually did something on that bridge so that at least it might be a bridge that can really cross people as it was damaged by the disaster. So with regards to that, it depends on the limitation of the budget, but it's only our best interest to make sure that we fix all the bridges, all the roads of Matatiele. But what I can say is that Matatiele local municipality is situated on the mountainous where there are floods everywhere when it's in summer. But proceeding to that.
So when you say you did something on that bridge, what is something, Mayor?
We appointed a company that was fixing that bridge. That bridge was fixed. We started by using our plant as a municipality, and then we fixed that bridge. That bridge was fixed.
So what is the status of that bridge today?
The status of the bridge now is fine.
Okay, Wonga, is that true? Is the bridge fixed? Is it fine?
What I'm going to do, Katie, I think I will try to make a round and then take some pictures, because 3 weeks ago when I was passing by there going to a high school called Dlenyana, the bridge was not fixed. The temporary fixing that was done 2 years ago is still the same old one that is there today.
Okay. So there's an issue of contention there, Mayor, that the bridge is not fixed, as you're saying.
No, I'm sure about that, Katie. The bridge was fixed. There was an intervention that was happening. If you remember well, last year, I said that even our plans of the plan that we're having as municipality is in that ward 21.
Okay.
We're fixing the 20 road. After that, we have fixed the Mapeleni access road. So it's something that really needs, the photos if you want to confirmation.
Yes, we'll wait for the pictures, Mayor. That's fine. We'll wait for the pictures.
Yeah.
I want us to move on then to issues of safety, and I guess those will be two-pronged. Let's start with the allegations made against you in terms of these bodyguards that you now bring to municipal offices who are there to protect you.
Thank you very much, Cathy. It's unfortunate that when it comes to air, it will appear as if there are things that are happening in the local municipality, while we know that Matatiele local municipality is one of the good performing municipality in the Eastern Cape. We've been obtaining the audit of 4 or 5 audit opinions, unqualified audit opinions. But let me come straight to the point that you are asking. There's no way that the mayor of Matatiele local municipality can have, the bodyguards as they were saying. The only thing that happened in that municipality, we've got number of sites. What is happening, we then break the issue of security in terms of saying we must appoint a security that is going to safeguard the properties of the municipality and the entire, location of the Matatiele on the private sector, the shops and everything, so that the security, actually, prevents the crime working together with this SAPS with regards to that. So the company that was on site in Matatiele local municipality, its contract was coming to an end on the 1st of October. Therefore, there were processes that were ran, the issues of procurement that I'm not part of. Then the company was going really to start to perform its duties. So those guys that were there, it was the owner of the security that went to on the site of council where they were looking for the finance, department to go and have their own things with our officials, So I don't know what was wrong if I was going with the securities to check them, to check the finance officers, the budget and treasury officers.
So basically the municipality allowed the individuals and the security guards contracted to this private company on municipal premises to look for an official within the municipality.
I might not be knowing if what was the issue between the officials that are dealing with the issues of procurement. But my statement will be that when people come and need an assistance, even if they've got guns, because I've got no way of saying, you must not carry your guns. If we don't know other people, they've got bodyguards, those people are working with the security cluster. So I might not be able to say in a position to say because there's a security already that is on the gate of the municipality. So when they come, they need.
So, Mayor, you don't see a problem with escorting gun-carrying security guards around municipal offices, trying to find an official of the municipality over whatever contract dispute might exist. You don't see a problem with that?
With me, Tracy, the only thing that I did, I might not say I have a problem or I don't have I might have a problem or not, but the only thing that I did is to show them when they were introducing themselves that we are the company that has been appointed for the next coming contract to safeguard the municipality. You know, even if it was not introduced formally by the officials. But my best interest was that, you know, in Matatiele, Tracy, as many people, they will always put it, we've got the issue of stock theft. You need a security that is going to have a muscle in terms of making sure that the issue of stock theft, working together with the South African police services, it comes to an end. The issue that people are always raising. So if you really don't have a strong security, you might have that
So you weren't concerned. You didn't have any security concerns for the municipality. You didn't have any security concerns for your life, and yet you are meeting these individuals for the first time.
You know, when you get to the municipality, Tracy, there's a security that is on site as we speak. So as they are proceeding, coming into the municipality, it means that all the safeguardness or everything that they allow them to get into the municipality, everything is well. So I might not be able to have an accessibility of saying, it's me who must determine if this is in danger or this is not a danger. You know, that's where my comment would be.
That's fine. You can come in, Ethel.
Yeah, Cathy, look, I'm sure this matter will be fully investigated in the investigation that the MEC will do. But I was a mayor once before. And fortunately, there's video footage and photographs of what happened on that said day, where the mayor arrived at the municipality with the new security company whose bid he supported against another competing company's bid that was contesting the matter in court. There's video footage, you'll have to explain that. But as a mayor before, I would never, even with my own private security, would never have allowed another security company to accompany me. Those bodyguards or security personnel were accompanying the mayor. They were in a circle around him, carrying semi-automatic firearms. My own private security would have prevented that. So I think the mayor's story is going to have to be much more closely scrutinized than simply on a radio station. But the beauty about media, it gives people the opportunity either to prove their innocence or to compound their apparent guilt. And what the mayor has just said now is completely irregular.
Stembile Madikizela, you are the EFF provincial chairperson, also member of the legislature. You too wanted to weigh in on the state of Matatiele. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy. Yes, we have received a concern in relation to the state of Matatiele and the way issues are run, and especially in terms of infrastructure and how the stability within the municipality. For example, there is a current issue of managers not staying in the senior managers not staying in the municipality. Citing bullying, citing toxic environment. For example, you will remember that last year there was a panel that appointed a general manager for community services, and then that decision the mayor didn't support it. Then it was reversed unceremoniously, and then the Department of Infrastructure has had no manager for at least a period of a year. Managers changing now and then. There has been no stability there. But also the issue of the mayor intimidating, because there's no other way of explaining the issue of a security company going to the premises of the municipality. It was merely an intimidation. He can try to spin doctor it and try any other tactic. He knows himself that was a tactic to intimidate the officials. It's never done. There is no process that says, if you have been bidding in the municipality, you can come now and see the officials and all of that. There is a process that is conducted for companies to be appointed. And also, Cathy, we have raised the issue with the MEC. We have raised the issue with the legislature that the municipality of Matatiele is under serious trouble, and there is no stability, and a serious intervention has to be done immediately.
Okay.
We have been raising these issues even previously.
All right. Stembile, thanks for that. May I want to come back to you. The issue of what is happening in the administration, Stimbile speaks to some of those issues: bullying, toxic environment, intimidation. But let's talk about your CFO. What qualifications does your CFO have?
The CFO has got all the qualifications, Tracy, that the council needed.
What are they? List them out for me. What are they?
I might not be specific on the issues, but on the details of the qualifications. But as far as I'm concerned, he's got all the qualifications.
Yes, but you know that this has been a matter of contention. It's not the first time you're hearing about questions around the qualifications of the CFO. So what qualifications does he have?
Tracy, the only thing that I can tell you is that our CFO that we've appointed is a CFO that has been in senior management for more than 18 years. He started in Municipal Mandela. He went to in Lusikisiki as well, and then he came to us. He was a supply chain manager for more than 3 years. And then we have appointed him as a CFO. He's qualified. He's got all the qualifications that we needed.
Oh, all right. Can you make those qualifications available publicly?
Yes, definitely. I will do that. I can do that. That CFO that we're having is one of the best manager who was a supply chain manager on the previous municipality. That is why we're still obtaining in that municipality. As much as Mr. Troll, we can say what he's saying, because in the political space, you must not expect people that are opposing you to talk nice about you. In that municipality, we've been obtaining more than 5 years, obtaining the unqualified audit opinion. You know why Mr. Troll was removed in Nelson Mandela? Is the way that he deals with the issues. I'm not being removed as the mayor, Matatiele. And in Matatiele, we're doing very well. They are concerned as the opposition parties is that Matatiele is it's one of the best municipalities that is performing and a very stable municipality. Even if you go to the traditional leadership,
that's not what the residents are saying. That's not what the residents are saying, Mayor.
But when you want the residents of Matatiele, you don't choose a certain individual that is against with the processes of the municipality. You must also take the ones that are going to talk about the good
all
things
right.
about the municipality.
Okay, let me bring in one of the residents.
What is wrong about you is that you always want to hear the bad things that are being said by people. You don't promote the good thing about the state of South Africa.
Mayor, it's not my job to promote your municipality. It's not my job to promote your municipality. What we deal with are the issues that residents. What we deal with are the issues that residents raise with us. I've got no interest. I've got no interest in destroying South African municipalities. In fact, we aim to do the opposite.
On the other municipalities, how you do your interviews, we always listen to you.
All we want is accountability. If you want to promote yourself, go and look in your marketing budget. Go and look at your marketing budget to promote yourself.
What is good
Mayor,
for South Africans?
Mayor, I want to bring in a resident. I want to bring in.
Must also talk about the good things that are happening in our municipality, more especially in the Eastern
You do
Cape.
a perfectly good enough job of talking about your successes, so I'll leave that in your department. Anonymous, you're calling us from Matatiele. Good morning.
Yes, Harvey. I'd like to remain anonymous. I'm actually a farmer in the area, been around for quite some time through all the generations. I just want to pose a question to the mayor. You've hired a new CFO who's supposedly qualified according to you. Can I ask, I've heard that the financial statements of the municipality were late in getting to the Auditor General. Can you explain that, firstly? Secondly, we've got a problem of illicit drug trade and murders in Matat. Never, ever has it ever happened in our sweetest town that people will be shot at during the day And apparently some of these guys involved in these drug trades have got tenders at the municipality. The municipality has never issued a statement regarding these murders. What is going on?
All right.
Councillors are assaulting people in pubs at night, in drunken states. Mayors and his cronies are protecting these people. What is going on? There's a new infrastructure manager that's apparently been hired, and the mayor's against that. He's taking the guy to court. But the guy's got over 15 years of experience, retired. What is going on?
Mayor, let me give you a chance to answer Anonymous's questions.
Yes, I hear about this thing of late submissions. As far as I'm concerned, as the mayor of that municipality, the submissions were done at, in fact, they started to submit around about 11:30, but they submitted at 11:57. That's the forensic report that we've received. So this thing of not submitting the financial statements and whatnot, in Matatiele local municipality, we have never done late submissions or not submitting anything that has to do with the financials. That is why we've been obtaining. In fact, people will be surprised that this coming audit opinion, Matatiele might be able to get clean audit as people as they are saying. So this thing, I don't know where it comes from, because we've got our own way of doing things in a good way, even if those few individuals can see that we are not doing it. But it's not something that we can say we can, satisfy everyone, But as far as we're concerned, we are doing a very, good job for our community as Matatiele. You see, let's talk about even the issue of service delivery, the issue of electricity. Matatiele local municipality is sitting at 98% in terms of electrifying, our rural residents. Last week, we were in the 15 wards of Matatiele, handovering the access road and bridges in that municipality. In terms of the issue of, housing, you can confirm in Matatiele local municipality, we are busy with the housing projects where we've been identified by the provincial legislature to be, appointed as implementing agents in the housing department. We are at 60, Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3.
Mayor, all of those things are things that you're supposed to be doing anyway. It's part of your job. We can't praise a fish for swimming. It's part of your job. That's why you're in that office. That's what residents expect of you. Unfortunately, we are completely out of time for this conversation. We're going to have to look at this investigation into the mayor. What we can do, though, is give our guests an opportunity to each close off on the other side of news, depending on those who would be available for that.
The top stories this hour. The rights group cries foul over the Marikana court ruling, and Venezuela considers ending relations with Spain. A very good morning to you. The Socio-Economic Rights Institute, SERI, which represents Marikana widows and families, says the Northwest High Court's decision to acquit 6 police officers is an injustice to the families of the deceased. Those acquitted include former Northwest Deputy Police Commissioner William Mbembe. They were cleared of all charges concerning the killings of 3 mine workers and 2 police officers in Marikana in August 2012. Mbembe, who resigned from his position in 2016, has been acquitted for the second time. He was also acquitted in 2021 in the concealment of the murder of one of the 34 mine workers killed in Marikana on August 16, 2012. Asenati Tukela is from the SEIRI.
While we respect the legal process and the decision of the court, this outcome, we feel, is a profound setback in the pursuit of justice for those who lost their lives and for the families who continue to suffer from the trauma of Marikana. Our clients, the families of the mine workers, have had to endure the pain of losing their loved ones and only to face the bitter reality that those who are responsible for the deaths have been acquitted. From the onset, we have maintained that there were significant failures in the conduct and the actions of the police on the day.
Meanwhile, the former Provincial Deputy Police Commissioner's family says his acquittal is in line with the Marikana Commission of Inquiry's decision to accept his denial that he gave an order to fire tear gas or stun grenades. Family spokesperson Simon Mpembe.
We were aware that there were fabricated charges that were formulated against him. He was, from the onset, from the Falam Commission that took place somewhere in 2012, he was cleared by the Commission. But unfortunately, the state proceeded because it had some motives, ulterior motives.
National Police Commissioner Fali Masemola has announced that 85,000 suspects have been arrested for various crimes across the country in the last month. He was speaking during a media briefing at a roadblock in Hounton, Joburg, where he gave an update on police operations countrywide. He was joined by the national head of the Hawks, Godfrey Lebeya, who also gave feedback on the DPCI successes in the past month. Masemola says Operation Chanela will continue to crack down on criminals.
With regard to Operation Chanela, we have arrested more than, we have now passed the mark over 850,000 operations, and the operation is still continuing, and there is a number of suspects that we have arrested for various offenses. We have confiscated 824 illegal firearms since the start of the operation, and over 17,000 rounds of ammunition of various calibers.
Eastern Cape Police have provisionally withdrawn charges against the 45-year-old man that allegedly shot at a 42-year-old police officer attached to the National Intervention Unit. The officer was driving to work when the known male to him allegedly started shooting towards him in Mthatha on Friday. The officer escaped unharmed while the man sustained injuries and was taken to hospital. Police say the charges are provisionally withdrawn to allow the police to finish their investigations. And the head of Venezuela's National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, has proposed breaking off diplomatic and economic relations with Spain, which has granted political asylum to opposition presidential candidate Edmundo González. This after González fled the country a week after Venezuelan authorities sought to arrest him, accusing him of conspiracy and forging documents, amongst other serious crimes. Rodriguez was speaking in the Venezuelan parliament.
Approve a resolution that the whole assembly can urgently adopt, calling the government of the Republic of Venezuela to immediately sever all diplomatic relations, all commercial relations, and all consular relations.
The top story at 11 o'clock, the Socio-Economic Rights Institute, SERI, which represents Marikana widows and families, says the Northwest High Court's decision to acquit 6 police officers is an injustice to the families of the deceased. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
The Talking Point with Cathy Mohlahlana. Weekdays, 9 a.m. till midday.
It's 7 after 11 o'clock. Welcome to the third and final hour of The Talking Point. Great to have you with us for this hour. So we're going to be wrapping up then our conversation from Municipal Watch on the Matatiele local municipality before we get into our content plan for this hour. So let me I understand all of our guests are still on the line. I'm going to ask everybody then to keep it as short as possible when it comes to the concluding remarks. So having heard what you have heard from the mayor in terms of the explanations that he's given and also what he believes is an efficiently run municipality that delivers service delivery and is doing the best under difficult budgeting circumstances. Wonga, you are a DA councillor in Matatiele. What do you have to say?
Yes, Cathy, let me wrap up on what Mr. Lehako has landed. The people of Matatiele will not get water because the district mayor is busy doing tenders with the municipality that he is servicing. He is putting some 3 different companies that he subscribes on, if I can put it that way. If the COGTA or what Mr. Arthur has written to the minister can just follow money track will tell you this money comes here, goes there. At the present moment, the same mayor is doing a job 4.7 kilometers in Ward 11 in Pizana, which is Matatiele municipality, is doing 8 kilometers in also Pizana, Ward 14. So there's no way we will get the service delivered while the chairperson of the region of the ANC, Mr. Mohlahlana, is busy doing the business with the same municipality that he is running. So there's no way we will get water.
Okay.
So all these companies, that means even if there was a building that was handed over 2 weeks ago, you can go there and then check all the companies that were doing subcontraction job there. He was there as the mayor. The town in Pizana Street, he is there. The security company that looks after VIP, he is there. So that is a bigger problem than what the people of Alfred Nzo can imagine. That is a bigger one.
All right. Wonga, thank you. We'll have to leave it there. And of course, those are the allegations made by Wonga in as far as the mayor of the Alfred Nzo municipality is concerned. Stembile Matikizela, you are an EFF provincial chairperson and also member of the legislature. Your parting shot?
Yes, Cathy, what we will do, we'll zoom closer to the issue of Matatiele and other municipalities in Alfred Nzo. But we will also have a conversation with the MEC and try to establish why is he so reluctant to act on the issue of Matatiele, because the issue of Matatiele has been there since the beginning of the term of this current mayor. The previous mayor was doing everything. The clean audit are inherited from that administration of the previous mayor. But this one will close the term with a disaster of that municipality. That municipality, in a few years' time, it will not afford to sustain itself. It sustain the employees. At the time the current mayor inherited that municipality, it had a reserve of 160 million. He can confirm there are no more reserves in Matatiele municipality because of his administration, the way he's leading the municipality, the way everyone is terrorized in that municipality. As I said here, the managers have been raising issues to us, writing to us, senior managers and other anonymous people, saying they must intervene on that issue of Matatiele. And we are going to zoom on it and ensure that the issues are investigated by all institutions that are relevant that can assist it. Thank you very much.
Stembile, thanks for that contribution. Ethel Trollip, of course, you are the Action SA parliamentary leader. Your parting shot?
Yeah, thank you very much, Cathy. I found it interesting that as soon as the mayor was coming under pressure, he had to pivot and make subjective comments about why I was removed as mayor. That's not relevant at all to what's happening in Matatiele. But I'm very pleased, and I want to commend you, Cathy, with your program, the Talking Point, Municipality Watch. What you've done is you've brought the microscope closer to Matatiele. And the MEC now has to investigate this matter and has to respond back in 90 days. And I want to quote a sentence from the letter from the minister to me. You will be informed of the response from the MEC's office. I remain committed to the fight against fraud and corruption at all government levels. Now, Cathy, you'll know that the political landscape has changed considerably in South Africa. And now we've got an ANC MEC having to investigate an ANC mayoral colleague and have to report to the member of the GNU, who is the Minister of COGTA, Velenkosi Shabisa. He's a minister of the IFP. So now there isn't that trail of protection right through all 3 spheres of government. And I believe that this program and the investigation will bring light to Matatiele and hopefully sort out the issues of corruption and also intimidation in the municipality. Thank you very much.
All right, Ethel, thank you for that contribution. Lehakwe Mapela, as a resident then of Matatiele, what do you have to say to your mayor?
Yes, Katie. I would say the Matatiele is a struggling municipality. And it's not helping when a mayor a mayor in the recent past, he visited a school here called Tulang in Ward 1, where he was talking about the people that I'm going with don't earn less than 1.something million. The cars they are driving are these cars that are called is Qadaf, the big cars. And at the same time, we are crying that Matatiele is struggling with budget and everything. What we want, Katie, is the roads. We want the water. We can't sing praises for people who are not doing what they're supposed to do. And that is not, you are correct when you are saying if there was water, Kate, we would be silent, we would be in peace. If there is electricity, there is no need to talk about electricity. We will more think about it as if it's something that falls out of the sky, because our municipality will be working, everyone will be going about doing their business, not crying about basic things. We would be now maybe talking about secondary and tertiary activities rather than focusing on the basics like water and access roads. Access roads here in Maluti, Katie, in less than 10 years, they have turned into gravel roads.
Okay.
Just to show the quality of work that is being done. In less than 10 years, the tar road is now a gravel road. So those are the things that make us to talk. We are not talking because we want to dent anyone. We are talking because people are not swimming as fishes that's supposed to be swimming. Thank you, Katie.
All right, Lehakwe, thank you for that contribution. Councillor Mgenela, your parting shot.
Thank you very much, Katie. I just want to emphasize that we are still very committed to make sure that the basic service delivery of our communities in Matatiele will be addressed. But I know that we cannot address everything at once. The internal streets of Malut, Katie, were handed over last week. The internal streets of Malut, Ward 1. And other service delivery related matters, like we do communicate and have sessions with regards to the issue of water in Matatiele. We are attending to that. We sit with the district mayor. I might not be really come close to the allegations that are really opposed to him, but I'm sure one day he must get an opportunity to come here, because this thing of talking about somebody who cannot speak for himself on a national, the radio, it's really not a good thing. But we want to appreciate the program.
Yeah, Councillor Mganela, I hardly doubt that the mayor of the Alfred Nzo municipality cannot speak for himself. We've had him on the show before, actually. So I think it's a case of the allegations that are being made right now in this conversation. And we will, of course, give him an opportunity to respond. So let's not distort the picture there.
Okay, no, it's fine. I was saying, Kathy, with regards to the issue of financial reserves in the municipality, you can go to all the municipality. That municipality is the municipality that has got history of keeping good reserves. We are sitting at more than 200 million with regards to the reserves that are there. So this thing of people coming to on a national radio and talking lies about all these things is very bad. But we always expect that people that will be opposing must oppose, but in a proper manner, not talking lies. Because when you go to that municipality, we are one of the performing municipality with regards to the reserves of in the financial department.
All right.
But we appreciate the program, and we are committed to still stick on the assisting our communities with regards to service delivery. Thank you very much.
Councillor Sonwabile Mgenela is the mayor of Matatiele. All right, that's where we wrap it up with that particular conversation. On the other side of this break, we're looking at language, and in particular, when we have examples and instances of cross language. What exactly is cross language? Well, Prof. Zulu is on the line, and he'll be joining us shortly.
Put a spring in your step with the Espresso Morning Show.
That's right. Join us for fresh ideas, blooming trends, and vibrant tunes that are sure to brighten your day.
Discover the best ways to enjoy this season's beauty, from garden tips to spring fashion.
Come on now. Plus, get inspired with lively interviews and my favorite, the latest in entertainment.
Basically, start your mornings right with us. That's weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. only on S3.
After cutting the Buccaneers' continental journey short last season, Botswana Giants, joining Galaxy, want to make beating the black and white outfit a good habit. They meet again, but Sir Rivero's boys plan to take full control at Botswana National Stadium. This is the second preliminary round of the Total Energies CAF Champions League. Experience great vibes of African football, joining Galaxy FC versus Orlando Pirates FC. This Saturday, 14 September at 4 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Okay. They actually did it. I mean, I've seen it done in other countries, but now they have a whole new local season of the show. Oh, Mzansi, you beautiful, amazing land with diverse families and cultures. Wife Swap South Africa is finally here. Tune in from Monday the 9th of September and see how families from across South Africa swap wives and learn a thing or two or three on how other families operate. There will be disruptions, lessons learned, tears, and smiles in this unique and insightful social experiment. Channel your best entertainment with Wife Swap, Mondays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The varsity derby between Amatak's ladies and UWC ladies will display who are the brighter students. UWC target the top spot, while Amatak's want to break into the top 3. This is the Hollywood Best Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus University of the Western Cape Ladies FC on Sunday 15 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC 1. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM, leading the conversation.
All right, you're listening to The Talking Point. Thanks for tuning in this hour. And so what we're going to be getting into now is looking at the languages that we speak. In a country that has 12 official languages, we have a lot of examples of cross-language usage. And Professor Nogwaja Zulu is with the KwaZulu-Natal University, and he in particular is with the College of Humanities, School of Arts and African Languages. Professor Zulu, good morning to you. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Yes, good morning, Cathy, and good morning to listeners.
I imagine South Africa is not the only country where you have such a wide mix of languages. In fact, there are countries that have even, a higher sort of mix of languages that are spoken, at least within country. But let's talk about this idea of cross-language. There are many colloquialisms that I think are unique to our country.
Yes, let me explain first simply to your listeners, for the benefit of what it is that we call cross-language word usage. That is a situation where in 3 or 4 languages you find common words. Those words may not be exactly the same, but say language A might have used a word that comes from language B and adapted it to its morphology. If we take the word radio, for example, which we use frequently amongst all South African languages, It is an adaptation of the word from English, and it is now written and pronounced in the morphology of the various African languages. So it is an example like that. And cross-language usage happens in a number of ways. What happened in South Africa between European languages and African languages was the issue of language contact. The European languages came to Africa and mixed with African languages. And because in Africa, the items, let me qualify it, some of the items that came with the Europeans were not known to Africans, and they Africanized those words. So if you get a word like pen, which is used in several ways in Africa, not only in South Africa, in Africa as ipeni or pene, depending on where you are. I mean, these are items that came with the missionaries before colonization. So the first educated Africans had contact with missionaries and had Africanized, especially the school language. Also, our mothers and fathers had contact with the items that were used for agriculture, our fathers, and our mothers, the items that were used for the kitchen. So that was a European African earlier contact. Then there was colonization, which came with a lot of issues. And thereafter I mean, colonization came with a lot of contact. But what I want to explain to your listeners, Kev, is that whenever two languages exist, they do not exist on an equal basis in most instances. For example, when colonization took place in Africa, there was that situation where the African languages became the dominant and official languages in almost all domains. So items that were in those domains were European items, or it was the European language that was adapted. So you get a situation where many items that came with the Europeans before colonization and during colonization were adapted, sort of Africanized into African languages. The last aspect of cross-language word use that I want to talk about is the coexistence of languages. African languages themselves share particular ways because they've existed in the same area or region for a longer time, even before missionaries came here. The Sesotho language groups such as Sesotho, Setswana, and Sepedi, and all these varieties of Sepedi or northern Sesotho as they call it, there are word affinities there. So they are closer with the Sesotho sister languages, let me call that so that somebody should understand it well. The same with the Nguni sister languages. There are affinities there. And you also get words across the Nguni language groups and the Sesotho language groups. And these words that are similar in meaning and sound, we call them cognates. I don't want to reach that higher level, but I mean, we assume that we can at least explain this. So you'd get a word like umuntu, which is used in all Nguni languages. You get mutu, which you'll find in almost all Sotho language groups. Indoda in Nguni language groups. Umfazi, umntwana, intombazana, and then that side also you get words such as bana, basali, etc., etc. These are African languages themselves. So when a language comes out, when a word comes outside African languages, it's easy to find it. But some words have a long history such that you won't even recognize that these words were adopted. And I've given an example of a word, ijongosi in isiZulu, which comes from Afrikaans, young os. And its meaning has shifted slightly because the word now is used also for young men. I mean, a strong young man would be called ichongos. And the meaning is, as far as I understand, the original meaning lost to the young people. When I ask my students, what is ichongos, they always refer to a young man and no longer a young ox. So you can also have a long list of what I call ox wagon language, because the Voortrekkers trekked and entered Zululand as masters. So Afrikaans was spoken there. And the Zulu people who were employed by them were masters. So that is how Afrikaans got into KwaZulu-Natal, where predominantly there were English people that had been there before.
All right.
So, yes, depending on the localities, Sotho languages would have more Afrikaans because of the earlier contact, and isiZulu would have more English words.
Prof. Zulu?
That is the context, yes.
We're going to continue with this conversation shortly.
A very good morning to you with the news headlines at 11:30. Kemudupi Makhalemele. The National Police Commissioner Cathy Mohlahlana says police have implemented an action plan to crack down on extortion syndicates operating across the country. Energy Minister Kgosientshola Mokgopa says political leaders and policymakers who have allowed corruption, inefficiency and non-scientific factors to interfere with the nuclear process have tarnished the technology's reputation. And the Socio-Economic Rights Institute, which represents Marikana widows and families, says the Northwest High Court's decision to acquit 6 police officers is an injustice to the deceased families. And those are your headlines. A full news update at midday.
Africa from Within follows the journey of our anchor presenters who travel to various locations in order to delve into the inner workings and untold stories of the unsung heroes. At its core, Africa from Within is all about grassroots storytelling and the showcasing of the conservation contributions of ordinary people to Africa. It aims to engage and entertain viewers, educate and promote conservation, and inspire viewers to value our natural heritage. Don't miss Africa from Within on SABC2 every Friday at 7 p.m.
Catch the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7 on SABC2. It's another elimination week, and the bottom 6 are taken on a culinary trip back to school. For this challenge, they must create their dream lunchbox filled with nutritious yet delicious treats, and their creations are impressive. That's the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7. Repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
#SAFM Talking Point.
We continue the conversation on the talking point, and joining us is Professor Nogwaja Zulu from the University of KwaZulu-Natal's College of Humanities, School of the Arts and African Languages. And we're looking at cross-language in South Africa and some of the examples of actually words that have been borrowed perhaps from other languages. I suppose the broad picture here, Professor Zulu, is that even in the languages that we speak, we have a lot more inclusivity and perhaps connectedness through that language than what we might give credit for.
Yes, I agree with you there. Perhaps as I am talking about the contact of European languages with African languages and mention European items, one may get the impression that I'm saying this is a one-way process from English Afrikaans into African languages. But the reverse had taken place only, or also, I'm sorry, there is a lot of African words in various parts of South Africa, words that have been loaned by English and Afrikaans. If you check a dictionary of English, of South African English, it's called a Dictionary of South African English. Sometimes you get a little bit of shock when you see how many African words that are there, recognized by the English Dictionary of South Africa. So it has been a to and fro. Words such as mfekane, for example, difakane in Sesotho, they are used now as an English word, not only in South Africa, but by world English. If you click on Google and say mfekane, it will give you that word. Some of those words, especially the Zulu words, got frequently into the English dictionary because of the interaction between the Zulu people and the English. Then after that, there was the Anglo-Boer War that culminated at the Battle of Sandwane. So those words that were used during that war are now in the English dictionary in England. So I'm talking about world English. A word like Induna is known, Inkosi is known. So there is that cross fertilization. And it's not only old, but it keeps on going and going. I also want to remind your listeners that during the 2010 World Cup, the youngest word that got into the World English Dictionary was vuvuzela.
Yes, I remember that.
You remember that story now?
Yes.
If you click on Google now and ask what is vuvuzela, it recognizes it as an English word. So you see how cross-fertilization has gone. It's not only limited to South Africa or Africa, it has gone beyond the borders of Africa. So it is becoming a world phenomenon. So the languages of South Africa have influenced the terminology or the ways that are used by the world.
Prof. Zulu, of course, and I guess language continues to develop also as new inventions are made. And technology has also, provided a pathway for this too. If we think about a word, and I know you've written about this as well, a word such as phone, that's a new technology. in the context of the historical conversation that we're having. But how different languages have adapted the word phone to suit whatever language it is that they're speaking, especially African languages.
As far as I know, almost all of them, they are using the word phone. They are using it as a noun. Mphe phone yaka in Zulu languages. Ngiphe ifoni yami in Sotho languages. But they also use it as a verb, which is not the issue in English. I can say in Sesotho, ke tla o founela or ke tla phona. So I'm using it as a verb. You see how it has got another use. In Nguni languages, those three languages, ngizofona, you see. So these new words have a phenomenon of being used as they are with the morphology or the sound structure of African languages. A word such as television is used like that. We even shorten it now. If you listen to your children, they'll say, Mama, bula TV. You see, TV is becoming a word for television. It is not used as an abbreviation. Actually, quality TV, Valani TV, things like those. So TV becomes a word on its own for television, because I think the noun, the abbreviation TV became more popular than the long word television.
Yeah.
So there have been coinages of what a TV should be, but people don't use it. They simply don't. You know, it exists somewhere in the committee and confined to the rooms of those who coined such words.
Yeah, I guess it just doesn't resonate with how everyday people are speaking and using language. I'm going to take just 2 voice notes for you, Prof, before we wrap up this conversation.
Thank you.
Hello, SAFM Radio. My name is Wade. I would like to ask the professor these 2 words. There is Nguni, there is Nguni again, but how it's written is different. There is Nguni, Nguni, there is Nguni, Nguni. Sometimes we can say Ngoni, or Nguni, how it can be sound. So which one is the right one there? Because Ngoni and Ngoni, I would like to find out there from him. Bye.
Hi, Cathy. Good morning, Mafuta again. Cathy, now that you have gotten linguist there, Cathy, can you ask your guest is whether the Afrikaans language is indeed an African language, and thus that cross-pollination in languages, in what favor is it usually in the way that it results, whether it results in more African languages or words being called or being pronounced in an English way or in an English favoring way than our African languages or our other foreign languages being pronounced in a way favoring African language. Which way is it, Cathy? Can you ask your guest there?
All right, Prof, very briefly for me, please.
Yes, let me start with Nguni and Ngoni. The people who speak isiZulu, isiXhosa, and other languages are called Nguni people. They migrated from the lakes down as Nguni people before they were called Zulu, Xhosa, etc. But after Shaka's Fekane, the descendants of King Zwite's Induna Zwangendaba migrated back to the north, and they are now found in Malawi, Tanzania, and Zambia. They called themselves Ngoni. So I believe it was an issue of adaptation as they went back. It means exactly the same thing. They are speaking a variation of Zulu languages that is mixed with local languages. The issue of Afrikaans being an African language, I mean, it has got a long history, and I don't want to enter that because it depends on who you are speaking to. Afrikaans for a long time was associated with Dutch and the so-called Front Afrikaans was closer to Dutch. But what was languages of the Bushmen then and the Hottentots, I'm using those original words not really to offend anybody, that's what they were called, got a lot of ways into Dutch because of a long coexistence since 1562 or 1652 years during the time of Jan van Riebeeck. So there's been a lot really of word exchange between Afrikaans and the local variations. So I don't want to enter those politics. There's still a lot of politics about whether Afrikaans is an African language, having originated from Dutch, but that became an issue of 1994. After 1994, Afrikaans was comfortable to be called an African language.
All right.
An African language, yes.
All right. Prof. Nogwaja Zulu from the University of KwaZulu-Natal's College of Humanities, School of the Arts and African Languages. Yeah, we use language every day, but these are just some things that you don't even think about, right? And interesting to see how language also has evolved and continues to evolve. Okay, that's where we leave it for today on The Talking Point. We'll be back with you tomorrow between 9 and midday. We're going to wrap it up with a little tribute to Frankie Beverly. Frankie Beverly died yesterday at the age of 77. He was an American R&B singer and songwriter and founded the band Maze. And this is a collaboration, a song that has been covered by a number of artists. But in this particular rendition is Maze featuring Frankie Beverly.
You can bear. You stood right beside me, yeah, and I won't forget. And I really love you. You should know. I wanna make sure I'm right, girl, before I let go. know I think the sun rises and shines on you. You know there's nothing I would not do. Oh no, before I let you go.
SAFM.
The book reading. Please note that the views expressed in this book are not that of the station. Listeners' discretion is advised. SAFM presents another episode of A Life of Purpose, written by Luvuyo Wochela and Lumkile Wiseman Kuhlu. The reader is Lerato Velase.
Wiseman's experience of hardship and his acquaintance of different personalities during his incarceration and in the migrant labor system had widened his outlook on people, but left his political beliefs largely unchanged. Thamsanqa Mazwai, a fervent Pan-Africanist who was a student at Fort Hare at the time, recalls that Wiseman was an unequivocal Africanist, conscious of the continental problems and strikingly, unlike other students, impervious to the segregationist strategy affecting black universities such as Fort Hare. Then Fort Hare was very territorial, Thamsanqa said. The students from Johannesburg used to hang out together, and those of the various parts of the Cape did the same. And it was not surprising at the time. We had the whole issue of apartheid and the whole issue of political persuasions, in which there were those who were Bantustan-oriented, and some of us were not. I think Wiseman was more of the people who were outside of these classifications. Instead, he was quite brilliant in terms of the programs he was in, and that was the talk about him around the campus. When Wiseman started his diploma in commerce in 1967, the University of the Cape had produced the first two coloured South African chartered accountants, one of whom was Alwyn Martin, founder member of the firm Christian, Martin and Abrahams. Their achievements took a long while to be acknowledged, even in the communities of the Western Cape, from where Martin originally came. But Wiseman was aware that there was yet to be a chartered accountant from the African community, and that challenge motivated him when he started his second year at the beginning of 1969. Accounting, though premised largely on figures, also encompasses the principles of liability and the aspects of costs and benefits. In a nutshell, the underlying principles of the subject resonated with Wiseman's persona and life principles and his strong sense of responsibility. As a university undergraduate, he learned far more about the usefulness of figures. He began to enjoy the language of accountants and steadily came to believe that accountancy was a subject that could potentially have a direct effect on many life activities. His exposure to politics and the decolonization of the African continent and his dream of becoming the chief economist of the OAU gave him a keen interest in economics. Economics was about the real world. In his economics class, they talked about problems related to poverty and also to diverse developmental challenges. In his second year, Wiseman was gradually torn between two disciplines. On the one hand, the old aspiration to be the chief economist of the African continent. On the other, the newly found zest to challenge the unconquered frontier and become the first African chartered accountant. It was not easy for him to disengage completely from politics, suppress his thoughts, and not reminisce about past political activities which had engulfed him. The student political landscape at Fort Hare widened late in 1969. Despite being under the administration of the apartheid sympathizer, De Wet, a newly established South African students' organization, SASO, launched its branch on campus. SASO had emerged during that year, having seceded from the multiracial NUSAS. Formed by Steve Biko, it was a forerunner of an emerging revolutionary black consciousness movement, BCM, an ethos filling the void since the early 1960s liberation politics, repressions, and thwarting the government strategy of pacifying the younger generation in the segregated tertiary institutions. Wiseman recalls that its launch brought excitement to many students at Fort Hare and in almost all black tertiary institutions during 1969. The newly formed SASO resonated well with his political ethos and his affiliation to the PAC, the underlying emphasis that black people should be proud of their heritage and that they should establish and respect their achievements endorsed the idea of Africans asserting themselves, the importance of their history and their accomplishments. He did not himself participate in the launch of SASO at Fort Hare during mid-1969, but subsequently broke his non-involvement resolution briefly at the end of that year.
I addressed a student meeting during late 1969 to protest against the tendency not to give proper recognition to achievements of the ANC and the PAC by the new Black Consciousness movement.
The pain, the pride, and the heritage that Wiseman had garnered from his early involvement in the liberation movement were far too emotional and valuable to remain concealed in his memory bank. He strongly felt that he had to sensitize the younger generation to the crucial roles of that struggle. He attended meetings of the new organization and thought it was not giving proper recognition of its predecessors or consolidating their history, but he was only prepared to make a political statement on his own and not to participate actively in a group. His personal experience, particularly the betrayal at Lovedale, had led him to distrust groups. After his second-year examinations, and again gaining outstanding results, he and his colleagues had to embark on the practical lessons of accounting in preparation for their final year of the BCom program. That requirement allowed Van Eerden, the departmental head, to expose them to the reality of apartheid South Africa. Grappling with apartheid outside and inside the Fort Hare classroom. Wiseman's first vacation job was with the Xhosa Development Corporation, XDC, in Umtata and Butterworth during the summer recess of December 1969.